Welcome to a special episode of the All the Books Show, an Off the Books episode where each week we're interviewing a different director from the library system. This week, my friend Pauline Emery from the Southeast Stueben County Library is with us. Pauline, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You sound remarkably sane considering, everything that's going on.
It's been definitely trying. I think everybody's had their moments where you're like, I've hit a wall. I don't know what to do now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have kids at home?
I do. I have a 13-year-old boy. This has been really interesting. Yeah.
So is he going crazy, like trapped in within the walls of your house?
He is. Sometimes I kind of, it reminds me of like a pacing panther is in a cage,
Yep.
He just wants to get out and have like normal fun. But,
yeah, definitely.
But we've definitely done more together.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's been a wonderful thing for us.
Sure.
So, we take lots of walks, go hiking, play games, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's been nice.
That is
reconnecting.
Nice. My son's 5, and for probably the first week, he was like, "Woo, no school!" He was like all excited about it. But 2 weeks in, he started saying like, "I miss school. I want to go back to school." And we were like, "Uh-oh," I don't know how to deal with this. But he's such a social kid. I think he's just tired of just having the two of us to talk to.
Yeah, imagine him being social.
We've actually set up little Facebook Messenger video chats with some of his friends, like on a weekly thing, so we can have that to look forward to, and that's actually helped him quite a bit. But it's I don't envy people who would homeschool normally. I think it's it's challenging and difficult. Are they sending home like work and things for your son, or is that how's your school handling that?
Yeah, he goes to the math and science school. They at first, when they said they were going to have virtual full days, I thought, good luck with that, right?
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it's been the best thing because it does give him something to do.
Sure.
For an extended period of time. They start at like 8:30. And they go to 3:30.
Wow! Oh, so they really are doing it. That's
yeah,
amazing.
Like no kidding.
Wow.
I know, but they have like in-house science experiments that they're doing, and then they'll do it and then report back. And they've really done an excellent job. I don't know how the teachers are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They actually did have spring break this week, and I'm sure they had to.
Yeah.
The teachers, that's a lot to do virtually. Mm-hmm. Nonstop every day. So
yeah, we got some packets in the mail and stuff, and it was mostly work at home kind of stuff. But in the last week or so, I think they've really acknowledged, okay, this is going to be a while. So they've gone to, and my son's just in kindergarten, so it's totally different. But they've gone to some video lessons and things. So we're trying to work that all in. But it's a truly unique situation, I think, that we're all dealing with as a world. I mean, it's just this globally, in a way, unifying thing that we're all just having to go through, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just hoping for the world to read more. How's that?
Absolutely. Yeah, and on that note, have you been taking advantage of some of this time? What have you been reading?
I have. I just started. I had wanted to read The Power for quite some time by Naomi Alderman,
Sure.
And I just, like 2 nights ago, I started it, and I'm really engaged. I'm excited about that, but my passion this last couple weeks has been listening to books, and I've started the Nature Fix by Florence Williams and trying to get out nature more and more. That's been wonderful. And good old David Sedaris.
Oh, yes.
That's fun stuff.
Absolutely. I'm such a fan of David Sedaris, and audiobook is the way to go. Yeah. I mean, his readings of it elevate those so much.
Absolutely. So that's just been enjoyable. I like, it's like something to do while you're cleaning, and put on a book and listen. And we don't get to do those things often. So
that's
even
true.
though this is hard, that's a silver lining. That's
Absolutely.
a good thing.
Which David Sedaris are you into right now?
Well, I got the first one, Naked, is what I'm listening to right now. So that's just I can just snort laughing when when
Yeah.
you listen to him.
You don't want to be
It's great.
driving while you're listening to those because you're going to cause some traffic accidents. But I first discovered his stuff. I worked in a big public library in Michigan, and I
Mhm.
would part of the day, we'd empty the book drop several times a day. I'm sure that you can relate to this, but it would
Yeah.
be giant troughs of books. So I'd just be scanning and scanning and scanning, and I kept coming across these David Sedaris books, and so that's when I started reading them.
Yeah.
And I've just read and listened to everything. I feel like everything
Yep.
he's ever written.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to Calypso yet?
Yes. I did that this summer.
Yeah.
So this last summer, I
I
should say.
thought
Yeah.
that was such a after all these years, it's like you know his family so well and everything. That was such a
Yeah.
I found that one really impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. And
I think it's funny that, well, you just can't imagine how incredibly eccentric his family is that he
I
can
know.
make so much.
I know, it's true. I mean, they're just a wealth of story ideas. As for the Power, now I haven't read that, but I remember when it won the Women's Prize for Fiction a few years back, and my wife is a huge fan of this book, so much so that she bought it for several, like her sisters and several friends and stuff. She absolutely loved the book, so be interesting to hear what you think of it.
Yeah, I'm just really at the second chapter where, they're just, the young women are having these experiences
Mm-hmm.
of power that is frightening, but I'm just so intrigued. And yeah, I think what's coming out of women's fiction has been really strong the last couple of years, and
Yeah, I agree.
really glad it's being acknowledged,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are you a fan of Joyce Carol Oates at all?
Yeah, I think I mean, I've been on a kick. I gotta tell you, I don't know if you listened or read Alice Hoffman, but I've
Oh
been
yeah. Mm-hmm.
kind of obsessed with her for the last, I'd say, 6 months. I've just been going on a bender,
Okay.
Alice Hoffman bender.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay. Anything you'd recommend from her?
um, oh gosh, I love all her stuff. Well, of course, Practical Magic is that one
Oh
that is
yes. Yeah.
just start you off and get
Yeah.
you excited. But her red books, those are good. But you were just talking about Joyce.
Joyce Carol Oates.
Yeah,
Sure. She came to the David A. Howe Library in 2014, and so when preparing for that visit, I read a ton of Joyce Carol Oates, which if you haven't read her before, reading a lot of her books back to back to back is is a surefire way to drive you insane because they're all so. They're so meticulous, and a lot of times they're very dark and very psychological. So it was an
Yeah.
interesting year. I bring it up because when she was here, I bought a copy of Blonde, her epic sort of pseudo biography. It's not a biography; it's fictional.
Hmm.
It's a fictional account of Marilyn Monroe's life, and I read the first section of that years ago, and since we've been locked away, I picked it up and finished it, and it's just an amazing book. I love it,
Nice.
and it is so tragic. It's just so tragic from start to finish. She's Marilyn Monroe is just such a just so taken advantage of, like every step of the way, and Joyce Carol Oates just has this way to pull all that out of there and make you
Yeah.
care about the character and make it hurt. I mean, you really feel this one. So it's a phenomenal book, and it's right at the top of my list. So I would say it's definitely worth the read.
Oh, I'm excited about it. Yes, this is a perfect opportunity to really get, dive into authors you like and enjoy, but also just, I don't know, I in the work front, how have you been dealing with just fielding all kinds of questions from staff or
Mm-hmm.
and volunteers, patrons? How's that been going for you? I find that to be challenging right
It
now.
is. Yeah, it is. It's hard. I think it's hard in two ways. It's one, I often feel like I'm not doing enough. But I think,
Yeah.
when I step back from it and look at it, I am. We're meeting expectations. I think we're surpassing expectations in some ways.
Yeah.
Communication with staff has been really good, and I said this in a past episode, but I've been really proud of the staff because I feel like they've all really risen to this weird thing that we're going through, and so
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, having regular staff communication and sort of directing the focus of our attentions has helped me keep things in perspective and feel like I'm on track with what we're doing. And, we have such a supportive community. We have such a supportive board. So I really think we're in a very fortunate place. How about you?
Good. Absolutely. We've been doing like 10 o'clock check-ins every day, where people just share what they're doing or what they're struggling with. I think that's the hard part, is when they are having a hard time, or, which all of us do. But we do have like weekly Monday Zoom staff meetings. That's been really helpful.
That's handy.
To also, just kind of share where we're at. But what's amazing to me, like you said, is just the ideas that they're coming up with and running with just blow me away. And I love that about it. I love seeing that about, choosing to see this as opportunities. So that's been really good. I think what's really been challenging is we're gearing up to do a huge construction project.
Oh my gosh.
Gut the building, because it's a HVAC project, and it's from 1974. This is how old it is, and it's just costing us so much every month because it needs maintenance constantly.
Yeah.
It's just not efficient, and it's going to require a significant time for the library to be closed.
Oh boy.
The building, yeah. And so here we are in the midst of this, really unprecedented time, where we're closed to the public, and then we're looking at having to do this project and relocate as a library to another space. So imagine doing that virtually.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so we're looking at buildings with someone walking around with their iPhone showing us a room and sending us a plan of square footage, and you're just like, boy, I hope we're doing this right. I mean, it's been insane. It's been one of those, I just never would have thought we would have found ourselves in this kind of position.
Yeah.
So we might, what we found is that we might move everything up because to be closed during this time, and then open up for a short period of time and then close again. Yeah.
Wow, that's stressful. That anytime you have to move books like that is stressful anyway. I mean, when you have to relocate everything. One of the libraries I worked at years ago, they were doing a massive. It was a construction project. It wasn't HVAC, but it was like building new. Just totally redoing the very outdated space. And so all of the books were moved to an off-site storage facility, which was a giant. Like chicken farm. It was just a converted like chicken coop. And so, it had no windows. All the shelves were put up in order, though sometimes the shelves would be reversed and backwards. And they put up little heaters in there, and then they put a microwave with those like corn bags that you could microwave and like put over your neck so you'd stay warm. It was an insane experience. And one time I was there alone trying to pull all the holds and everything. A bad idea. I don't know why they would ever send me alone, but they did. And I was feeling so sick. I just like could hardly stand. And I got out of the building and had to like call someone. And they came out to investigate. And it turned out the propane from the furnace was just leaking directly into this closed off, like windowless space that I was just like walking through alone.
Oh my goodness!
So they had
Could
to send
you
me.
imagine?
No, I can't. And so they had to send me. They had to send me to the ER, and I had to get like an EKG and all these tests because like I've been breathing propane for a long time. But I survived, and we got through that process. So I'm confident that you will too.
That's pretty amazing.
It was a legendary story that none of us will ever forget. That's for sure.
That's pretty wild. Gosh. And I thought finding like vodka bottles in the book drop back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was the biggest mystery.
Oh, yes. All sorts of horror stories like that.
Like, where
certainly.
are these coming from?
So you were getting regular drop-offs of vodka?
At one time. Yeah, this was when I worked at Elmira Library, Steel Library, many, many years ago. That, and you would, unfortunately, you would, find snakes and worms and bugs and all those kinds of things. But yeah, the mysterious vodka bottles that just kept.
Maybe it was a contribution. Did they have a bottle deposit that you could turn them in?
That's, something.
So really should have been thanking that.
Yeah.
Poor drunk.
Yeah.
Have you been doing anything fun while you're tucked away? I know we talked a little bit about reading. Have you been binging any shows or catching up on movies you missed? Anything like that?
Um, no, I watch the only thing I really watch regularly right now is Schitt's Creek because I love it.
Okay,
And I
yeah,
missed the finale. I fell asleep last night and I
yeah,
missed the finale. But I've been totally enjoying that.
nice.
Um, but definitely I have chickens, so
Oh,
I hang out with the chickens. I
nice.
only have four, so
Please send
it's not like a
eggs.
farm. It's not like a farm.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. The
Yeah. Well,
eggs.
that's handy now. Is it a pain raising chickens?
No, I love it,
Really?
especially because I don't have that many. So
Yeah.
I mind like cleaning out the coop. I find relaxing. You know,
Interesting. Huh.
just I know you just got to do it often because
Yeah.
otherwise it's nasty.
Right. So if people are looking for a coop cleaner, you'd volunteer your services. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
I at this point with boredom level, I just might. No,
Sure.
I really don't mind it. I think chickens are interesting, and again, we get about 4 eggs a day, and
Mm.
for a family of three,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I take it.
Yeah, we supply the neighbors too.
Oh, that's nice. We recently started watching Stranger Things season 3. Have you seen Stranger Things?
No, but I keep hearing people
Now's
keep
the
saying
time.
you gotta watch
Well,
it.
I mean, we're so late to the game on it too. We watched the first season like years after it came out. But my brother lives alone, and he works at Walmart, so he's like still going to work and everything. So like I'm constantly worried about him. But we've been
Yeah.
doing a phone thing once a week where we watch a couple episodes of Stranger Things with the phone, like on speakerphone or something, so we can watch it together. But
Oh, fun.
it's a lot of fun. I mean, if you're not familiar with it, it's a very like 80s sci-fi sort of feel to it, and they just
Nice.
lean right into that. Are you an 80s movies fan? Do you have a favorite 80s movie?
I do. I love 80s movies, like,
Okay.
Pretty in Pink, that sort of
There you
thing.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, the Cusack one, I'm thinking, oh, Better Off Dead. That's like
Oh, I
fantastic.
haven't seen that one. I
Oh
got to
my
do
God.
it.
Nick, you have got to watch that.
Apparently, my wife's a huge John Cusack fan, and so am I, but it's like he's Hillary's favorite. So, yeah, we'll have to put that on the list, definitely.
Yes.
Uh,
That is one of, yeah, that's a classic.
all
It's
right,
good. Love it.
that's a new answer. I haven't gotten that one yet. So, yeah, okay, I'll have to put that on the list. What are you a big music fan? You listening to any music right now?
Do, well, of course, I think a lot of people are listening to John Prine, which makes me sad because
Yeah,
he passed away, but I
absolutely.
love John Prine.
Hmm.
So I've been getting nostalgic about that. I like, um, I like all kinds of things. I love, one thing I bring home from the library all the time is those Putumayo CDs from various countries
Oh, okay.
and global music. They're Indian Groove, one of my
Okay.
favorite.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's something I never get tired of, are those, because they're just such a good mix of
Hmm.
popular, newer artists from other countries, but
Yeah.
also, classic acoustic music from, whatever country
Hmm.
is featured.
Hmm.
I love those. Yeah.
What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say, just recently, I went to the Driftwood concert
Okay.
at the Dean's Theater in Wellsboro,
Uh-huh.
and they were just so, when you go to a concert that the musicians are just, it's almost kind of like a magical moment because
Hmm.
they're just getting in to their instruments so much, and the crowd, it was just like from start to finish, it was excellent.
Hmm.
Um, I like Driftwood. I've been listening to them quite a bit for the last year, actually.
Are you a fish fan? Because Phil's an expert on fish.
He is,
Yeah.
yeah. I like fish. I'm not like, total fish fan. I have never seen them in concert.
Oh, well, Phil's seen them
Uh,
somewhere between 50 and 100 if you didn't listen to last week's episode.
oh,
So that's
awesome.
it's quite epic. It's hard for me to answer this question. I think that probably I would have to say Eric and I went to this Paul McCartney concert in Syracuse a few years back, and it was amazing. I mean, Paul McCartney's such a showman, and the show
Yeah.
was just so polished and so cool. He didn't do a lot of Wings era stuff, which I love
Mhm,
Wings, and I think I was
mhm.
probably the only one there who was like, less Beatles, more Wings. Um, But that was an amazing concert. It's a tie between that and a smaller concert I saw with Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, who we had on the show a few years back.
Yeah.
Interviewed him
Yeah.
about his book. But Paul McCartney is just all about like putting on this big show, whereas the Nesmith concert was a lot more personal and intimate. It felt more like we're sitting in a room and he's like just like strumming the guitar. So I loved that one. But are you a big concert goer? Do you go pretty regularly?
I used to back in the day.
Sure,
I did.
sure.
But I would do more of the festival kind of circuits. Of course, I would try to go to. In Ithaca. I can't even think of the name of it. But yeah, like summer festivals. Even like at the wineries when they have music outside. There's just nothing like it. Grassroots. That's what I'm trying to remember. Goodness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that I really love going to that because that's also another venue where you just get ideas and pick up music that you're going to listen to because you get exposed to somebody you normally might not have listened to.
Yeah, I do like a small concert. We went to a couple recently. My wife's a huge Indigo Girls fan, so we saw Indigo Girls up in Buffalo, and that was at a smaller venue, and that was great. And Rufus Wainwright as well is another of Hillary's favorites. So we had sort of a year of concerts last year, so it was a lot of fun to do all that. Tell me a little bit about, you already mentioned that one of your past libraries was in Elmira, but what was your first library job?
My first library job, actually, like way back, I remember volunteering at my high school library. Okay. And that's where I kind of was like, oh, I like this. And then when I was... I did my associate's degree at Corning Community College, and I worked in the library as a work study there. And then after that, I went to Elmira and started working there. I was there for like 5 years, and I was taking classes and going to school as I worked in the library. And then I got a job at Elmira College Library. So it was nice to work in a public library and then a college library. And then I worked at Ithaca College Library. So, and then I ended up here where I'm at now.
We've got a pretty similar background then, because I also started in my teens and went
Did you?
Public and then a couple of academic libraries and then back to public libraries, which I much prefer. But have you what non-library jobs have you had? What is the worst job you've ever had?
Oh my goodness. I've had some interesting jobs. Worst job I ever had was a summer job.
Okay.
And you worked for like Public Works. And it was in Pennsylvania. It's where I grew up in Mansfield, Pennsylvania. And your day would vary. It would be pulling weeds on Main Street, which imagine as a young person, like, yeah, how cool that is.
Right.
There's Pauline, what is she doing? Pulling weeds on Main Street. and then filling potholes with asphalt. That's some hard work.
Yeah, I'm sure. Were you on a chain gang? Because that's kind of what it sounds like.
That's exactly what it was. It was like that. There would be days where you had to like wash all the municipal vehicles, and there's a lot of them. And like that wasn't fun. That was actually more fun than the worst one of these like jobs of horror was I had to paint the outside of the sewage treatment plant.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I think anytime the word sewage comes in to the paradigm, I think you've found your winner there. So you had to paint the outside of the sewage treatment facility?
Yep.
Wow.
That was it just was as my dad would say, it's building character.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I see why the library jobs appeal to you so much then.
Yeah, sure.
Although, I mean, you do occasionally have to deal with sewage as a library director, wouldn't you say?
Yes, you do.
So
absolutely.
You can't avoid it entirely.
No. No. So what was your worst job?
I don't know. I was thinking about, I feel like I've been pretty fortunate. I worked in a dinner theater for several years where we would do 7 or 8 shows a week. I did that while I was in college and high school. And I also got both high school and college credit for it. So, I mean, I can't complain about that. And then I worked, my grandpa owned a meat shop, it was a retail store and also a meat processing center. But I mostly just had a good time there, just packaging stuff and few kooky things here and there, but I don't really feel like I've had a bad job, which is a boring answer, I know, but
No,
I mean,
that's
I was poisoned by a propane leak at an old chicken coop, so I guess.
well, I was just gonna say that was pretty
you know,
interesting right there.
so I mean, I would say that at least built character,
Yeah.
So,
What would you say is your most interesting, like, patron experience during your all your years in a library setting? Both public, school, whatever.
Well, it varies so much because the public library that I started in, Willard Library in Battle Creek, Michigan, is in a more urban area, versus like the rural Wellsville where we are now. So it was a totally different crowd, a totally different set of people coming in. So, certainly we'd have regulars that we'd always kind of look forward to seeing. There was one guy, older guy, who would always come in and he would never check anything out, but he wanted a fresh bag and he always wanted to swap change. So like he might bring $1 and want dimes, or he might bring a dime and want pennies, or he might have pennies and want nickels. And he had this whole elaborate system, and the library was part of his daily routine. He'd sort of make the rounds about town, always stop in the library. And so that was one that I always looked forward to, him coming in, because I just thought he was such a kind and pleasant older fellow. I've certainly had negative experiences. I mean, I'm sure you have too, been yelled at and sworn at and, name called and all that.
Yeah. Those,
So,
yeah. No, but it's definitely the characters you meet.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like to be in a place where I have regulars, the people that I recognize, and I know the kind of books that they like and that sort of thing. It's one of the reasons why I didn't start as director in Wellsville, and I had a lot more desk hours when I wasn't director. But when I took the job, I made sure to schedule myself on the desk multiple hours every week, just so I can maintain that experience, because that's one of my favorite parts about working in the library is just is seeing and interacting with the people and getting to know people. And it's, I just really like that part of it. I like that give and take. I like being right there with it. That's one of the things that's always drawn me to it.
I agree. I have always been fascinated by just watching people and seeing how people react in situations and with one another. And humans are fascinating. I think that's why it's so hard to be home.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Have you had a crazy patron experience that comes right to the top of your mind?
A ton, but when you were sharing yours, it made me think of a gentleman. His occupation, he was a grave digger. He was the most well-read person that would come on a daily basis to the library, hands down. He had time in between grave digging to read a lot, and he always just wanted to talk about what he was reading or what he'd learned, and he just was fascinating, and he was a regular, and he popped in my mind when you were saying, thinking about the gentleman with the change.
Bag and change. Yep. It's funny the way those stick in your head. Were you a pretty active library user as a kid? Were you a big reader growing up?
I was, yes. In fact, when I was young, I had a hard time. I was having a hard time reading, and I remember my teachers were talking to my parents, and my dad was such an avid reader, and he just really, like a duck to water, he took to reading to me every night for years, and he would read, like Kipling. He loved Kipling. He would read Shakespeare. He would read just classics. And that just kept me going as a child to really strive to be a better reader. And I just finally it clicked, and I totally attribute that to just growing up in a family who they always read, and we went to the library weekly, and I remember story times and just that good feeling you'd get when you walk into a library and you're standing in the aisles. There's just this feeling of like there's endless possibilities and you're surrounded by those ideas. And there's something about that just always stuck and helped me as a student, to want to to be a better student. So
did those classics and the things your dad read, did that influence your own taste in books quite a bit?
It does. When and in fact, like times like these, when I feel a bit unsettled or whatnot, I do like to go back and read, Edgar Allan Poe and just some of the classics and just take them in, and sometimes I don't read from cover to cover. Sometimes it's just my favorite parts, or, it just, that poetry. I mean, you just kind of go to those things to give you comfort for sure.
See, it's funny because I have a totally opposite recollection of childhood. Like I certainly remember my parents reading books from time to time, but it was not a big part of my growing up. Like it was never like weekly trips to the library. I remember going to the library when I was a kid and checking out records with my dad, and bringing them home and listening to the records. But classics is something that I just have not read a ton of. I didn't read a lot of them in school, and I didn't grow up doing that. So now I sort of use the book clubs and things to fill holes in my own. Like, I really should have read that book. Let's do a book club, And it always gets interesting responses when you do that. But I think that I came about it in a different way. Like, I've always really liked movies and characters that maybe recur. And so I think that I started reading a lot of like novelizations and things. Like I remember so specifically seeing Star Trek Generations in theaters. And I just loved it, and I wanted more of it. And my grandma found me like a junior novelization of that when I was, I don't know, however old I was when that movie came out. And I think it was a lot of that kind of thing. Like, I would see something and I would want more of it, and I would go to like books and novelizations sort of based on that. And then from that, it sort of expanded and grew. But it's funny to think back that that's the thing that really got me on that path.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think too, like, you have a lot of the theater background and that interest. That's what's great about libraries, though, that people are pulled in by all kinds of avenues. It's a real eclectic bunch of people that work in libraries, for sure.
Yeah.
And I like that about it too. Yeah. It's not a cookie cutter.
I agree.
Profession at all.
A few weeks back when Tina Dalton from Cuba was on with me, we got to talking about graphic novels and how now that's become such a great window for kids who are reluctant to read, and it's something that we really push. Do you see that in Corning as well?
I do, definitely. And just, that middle school age too, that might just kind of just be lagging on reading, and maybe they were good readers when they were younger, but middle school, it's not cool. But then here's this whole new genre that they can embrace, and there's just so much variety now with graphic novels. I think that's fantastic.
Now, I want to ask you about Corning a little bit, the town, because when my wife and I were first married, we would always come to Corning for our anniversary, just like a little getaway and stay in that Radisson that's like right next door to your library, and just kind of cruise the town. These were, of course, the pre-child years when we could just,
you could do that,
pick up and do whatever we wanted. But I think the town has such character and such cool places to go. Of course, the Glass Museum and the Rockwell Museum and all that. But I'm wondering, what's your favorite hangout spot? If you're gonna take a break from the library or something, do you have a regular place you like to go?
I do. I love simply getting lunch and going to the Centerway, especially obviously when it's beautiful weather. 'Cause sometimes they'll have live music, sometimes they'll just have music playing, but it's just like you can sit back and you see, people from the community that but also a lot of people visiting. And again, it speaks to that, like, people watching I love to do.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And so that's one of my favorite things. And sometime in that same area, they have their farmers market on Thursdays. I don't know. It's just it's a friendly community for sure. And I think people from all over the world decide that they're going to make it their home. And I think that's what makes it, special.
I agree. I think it highlights what's special about our whole area here is that Corning, when you're walking downtown, when you're in the Centerway there, I mean, it has a very metropolitan feel, and yet 2 blocks over, you're in the sticks. I mean, it's
absolutely.
It's like the best of both worlds. We always go to that Indian restaurant that's right on the main drag there.
Kali, yeah,
yes,
yep.
So good. So good.
Love it.
There used to be a record shop downtown that I love to go to, which is not there anymore, which makes me sad. But I love that little theater. It's a cool town.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
What have you seen? What's the most positive thing you've seen come out of this library-wise while we're all trapped at home?
I think, for one, staff being so up for trying and learning new things. We are a profession that should continually learn. Mm-hmm. And so many of them are educating themselves above and beyond.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we're all together again, we're going to just have such a wealth of knowledge for things we trained during this time, but also things we learned craft-wise, recipes we learned. I think we're just going to have some improved skill sets. And the best thing is that people are going to appreciate the everyday, normal interactions we used to take for granted.
Yeah.
Hands down. It's like, I can't wait I'm not a big hugger, but there's people I see and I hug, and God, you just take that for granted now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, just like you're saying with people, maybe they're picking up new crafting skills, this is just a time to really to stretch yourself, to find new ways to connect with the community. And I feel like there are corners of the community that we're reaching now that we have not been able to reach before, just because people now are looking to the library, they're looking for new things. And I think that is, while I would prefer not to be in a global pandemic, I think that is something that you can point to as a real positive outcome, is that we're maybe seeing new needs in the community that we didn't know about before, and we're making those connections that we haven't been able to. So I think there's plenty of good, even though it's weird and difficult and hard to wrap your mind around.
I just worry about, the thing that was, I went to the library after it was closed, and there was, it just was surreal to be there. But I looked outside and I saw, one of our regular people who he doesn't have many places to go.
Yeah.
And it just broke my heart. I was like, that was one of those days where I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Mm-hmm. He just sad, forlorn, nowhere to go. We were his space to keep warm, to have someone to talk to, use a restroom, all those things. And it's like, what happens to that part of our society?
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of librarians and library staff grapple with, is just, those regulars that you love to see, and that you're the space that there's not very many public spaces that they can relax and be a part of. And
I think you're hitting it just right. And I would say if as libraries we're doing our jobs right, these people have a place where, all people have a place where they can feel like they belong, feel like they're a part of it, like they're not on the outside. I feel like one thing libraries can do is just be an equalizer. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your wallet when you walk into the library, because everybody's on equal footing. And I think that's rare and sort of a magical thing that we're able to do. So that's why I'm so grateful to our community support and the people who really cherish the library. And I think it's a responsibility that we have, and nothing that I don't think any of us would take lightly.
No, for sure.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you get back?
It'll just be nice to sit in a chair that you're supposed to sit in when you're at a desk.
Yes. Yeah.
Sit in my it's the small things.
Yeah, I agree. I know. When we walked away, we were open on Saturday. We thought we were going to be open on Monday, and we weren't. But the senior staff still met, and it was just so surreal to be in a dark building, all of us, 6 feet apart, just saying, like, what comes next. And even that day, because this has happened so quickly, even that day, I don't think any of us was really thinking this will be the last time that we do this for who knows how long, you know? So like,
yeah,
even though we had a little bit of okay, here's the plan, it's still only
yeah,
probably a week later really hit me that like, wow, that was in some ways the
yeah.
end of an era, you know, because you just don't, things will certainly
No.
be different. Things will certainly be different when we start again. And I'm looking forward to that challenge, but a challenge it will be.
Yeah, no, I agree. Strange times.
Yeah. Well, Pauline, to close here, I have to ask you the question that has popped up in every interview so far. And this is a longstanding rivalry between Eric Mickles and Sally Jacoby Murphy. If you had to choose between the movies Jurassic Park and Citizen Kane, which would it be?
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park is sweeping this. I have to tell you, Jurassic Park is sweeping this. So Eric is feeling a lot of vindication right now because his side is winning out.
You know, it's just because I don't watch suspenseful movies, and I read the book years ago, and I was like, watch the movie, and I was just on my seat the whole time. Just I was so into it, and I generally don't like movies like that, but I was like, oh my God, I'm going to like have a heart attack right now because.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's a clear victory so far with Jurassic Park. Well, Pauline, thanks for taking the time to sit here and talk to me today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you.
And I hope to, one day see you in person again when we can go back to our real lives.
I know.
All right. Well, Pauline, stay sane.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
See you around. Bye.
Bye.